Hello again, welcome back. My name is Kimberly. I am the owner of So Sassy Stitcher in Northwest Arkansas. I am working on block number 2 for this Westport quilt kit that I got from the Stitch and Snip in Garden Valley, Idaho. It is a couple of years old, as I said in my last one, but I am working on this, making it my own block of the month. And so if you also have this kit and working along with me, just giving you some tips and tricks to help you out. So we are working on block number 2 today, which is kind of this windmill type block. And we are going to be using our 45 half square triangle ruler today, and we're going to be cutting out some of our triangles for all of this with this. Now, there's lots of different ways that you can do this. You can, choose to do your squares and then do the 1/4 inch on either side of the halfway mark, all of that, but they want us to use this 45. And I think part of it is so that our bias is a little bit different. This has a smart corner on it. And so we cannot just take a square and cut it in half. If you do that, you're going to have to adjust your measurements a little bit. If you don't have this, you can cut out squares and do that method for the half square triangles, but you're going to have to do the math on that to be able to get them correct. Because this has that smart corner on there, I believe your squares would need to be 2.5 inches. So your strip would need to be 2.5 inches versus the 2 inches. But I'm going to show you how to cut these. It's really pretty easy to be able to do this. So I cut 2-inch strips. I do have them stacked right here. I had on my fabric number 1, I had 3 of these strips and I just stacked them all up and whacked them off. So that, because on that one, I'm cutting 60 of those. That's a significant amount of those half square triangles. I don't want to cut those one strip at a time. I could have ended up with a much larger strip left over. I don't really care that much. It was much easier to do it just with them all stacked up. So this one's pretty self-explanatory. We're going to cut those 3.5 inch strips to get the 3.5 inch squares. I'm cutting 2-inch strips to get all of these half square triangles with my 45-degree half square triangle ruler. And then from fabric 1, I'm also cutting those 11.5 inch and 9.5 inch by 1.5 inch strips. Now for that one, I cut off the teeniest bit of my selvage before I cut those, and I had about that much left. So make sure you're real careful on those that you don't cut off too much of that selvage. Otherwise, you're going to be short on those. So this is fabric number 9. Fabric number 7 had 36 half square triangles. It's the same exact as what we're going to be cutting here. So I'm going to show you how you do this. On this one, we're going to be cutting half square triangles, and we're going to be cutting just 2-inch squares. And that the rest of these strips will be set aside for another block. But for right now, we're going to cut 24 of these. So because I have these stacked up, I'm cutting 4 at a time. So I need to cut this 6 times. So what you're going to see is this smart corner is going to go at the top of my fabric, and then my 2-inch mark is going to line up at the bottom of my fabric. Just like this. And then I'm going to cut just like that. All right, now I'm going to flip my ruler over so that it's upside down. It's a little more awkward, but it does work that way. There's other ways you could flip over your fabric or whatever, but that's not worth it to me. So then I'm just going to, again, lining up my edge here and my edge here, making sure that my 2-inch mark there, and then I'm just going to cut this off nice and straight. So I have 8 of those already. So you can see when I had 60 of these and I had 3 set up, it really goes pretty fast. So again, I'm going to line up my top edge, my side edge, my 2-inch mark down here, and I'm going to cut this again. So now I have 12 of these. I need double that. So I'm just going to do this 3 more times here. Move my papers. And I have one more, which is going to be convenient because then that's going to leave me with a squared off piece to then see if my ruler will actually, or my thing will actually cut. Okay, so now you can see that I have these triangles that have a smart corner on them. So that's pretty neat. I'm gonna mark these as F. I have my handy dandy little labels here that I've marked so that as I go through, I know what is what. That way I don't get my fabrics confused. Okay, now it wants 12 2-inch squares. So I'm gonna take my quarter cut shape cutter just because it's a little smaller, and I'm going to line this up. Since I have 4, I only need 3 cuts, so I'm going to go 2, 4, 6, and that will give me my 12. And then this is going to get set aside with the rest of my stuff. That'll be used for another block. And then I have my 12 blocks there that get marked with G. All right, and then we're going to move on and we're going to start sewing those together to make our units.